Action to take. In March, ask for the meeting that puts your idea before decision makers. Prepare a clear 10-minute case and a simple "what I need" ask. Protective tip for the test month? In July, resist overcommitting. Say yes selectively and document agreements to avoid misunderstandings. Emotional takeaway? You're not just chasing success, you're reclaiming authority over your direction. Journaling prompts. This March, I will ask for one meeting that could change my trajectory. In July, I will name one boundary that protects my progress. Taurus, steady ground, sudden elevation. Taurus moves through 2026 with the mix of steadiness and surprise you're famous for. The year begins with an awakening in January and February, a realization that stability needs motion. March acts as a pivot month that can decide the tone for what follows: an offer to collaborate, a financial proposal, or a reevaluation of a long-term goal. If you've been nurturing an idea quietly, March is when someone else might notice and bring it forward. Picture a late-night message from an old mentor in March with a short, bold suggestion. That contact could become the engine for later months. April through June bring financial acceleration, particularly in May. Money may arrive through unexpected routes, royalties, a small business pivot, or a contract that finally aligns with your worth. Use this period to negotiate terms that reflect your value and to set aside a portion for consolidation rather than immediate expansion. July will test both relationships and resources. A friend or partner might push for faster changes, and your impulse will be to preserve steadiness. The guard here is to avoid shutting down emotionally. Instead, invite joint planning and be willing to compromise on non-essential points. October through December reward your patience. Recognition comes through endorsements, quiet promotions, or the solidification of a contract. December clarity helps you see not only what changed, but how to protect the gains for years to come. Action to take. In May, have a firm conversation about compensation or contract terms. Be prepared with market numbers and a calm negotiation strategy. Protective tip for the test month? In July, pause before lending money or giving personal guarantees. Ask for a written plan. Emotional takeaway? Steady choices in the right months create durable elevation. Journaling prompts. What steady work can I amplify in May to create financial momentum? Who will I negotiate with this year, and what's my non-negotiable? Gemini, acceleration through conversation. Gemini 2026 invites you to turn words into engines of change. January brings a mental reset, new ideas, old networks revisited. March is a high leverage month. Conversations that begin as casual could rapidly become collaborators or sources of funding. Think of March as a short fuse. If you seed an idea now, by April it may be tested in real time. Example: a networking thread in March leads to a short-term consulting offer in April that grows into a longer contract by June. April through June offers expansion, especially May and June, when visibility increases. This is the moment to publish, pitch, or appear on panels. The spotlight is likely to find you if you place yourself where conversations happen. But beware July. Ideas that felt exciting may face implementational realities, timelines, budget scrutiny, or partner friction. The test here asks you to focus. Which projects deserve follow-through and which were attractive in theory but weak in structure? October and November bring consolidation of the projects you chose to carry. December offers clear perspective on what to scale next year. Action to take. In March, send 3 intentional messages. 1 to a past collaborator, 1 to a mentor, 1 to a prospective client, each with a specific small ask. Protective tip for the test month. In July, don't scatter your attention. List your top 2 projects and pause the rest. Emotional takeaway. Your talent is in translating ideas into momentum when you pair curiosity with discipline. Journaling prompts. Which 3 messages will I send in March? By July, which 2 projects will I commit to finishing? Cancer. Quiet power, strategic support. Cancer, the theme for 2026 is influence through support. Your luck appears where you nurture relationships that in turn become platforms for your growth. January and February set a tone of inward work, clarifying values and trimming distractions. March brings a subtle but meaningful opening. Someone you've supported starts advocating on your behalf. Visualize a person you helped months ago who suddenly mentions your name to someone influential. That referral could reframe your options in April and May. April through June is about establishing influence, saying yes to advisory roles, mentoring, or showing up in ways that make your value visible behind the scenes. May is particularly favored for building networks that translate into opportunities later in the year. In July, a test of loyalty or resource allocation emerges. Will you protect your boundaries or overextend yourself to help others? The guard here is to avoid martyrdom. You can help and still secure your needs. October and November bring recognition for your behind-the-scenes work. Invites to speak, consult, or join boards that offer both influence and compensation. December clarity shows where your network is strongest and how to formalize support structures for the future. Action to take. In May, accept one advisory or mentoring opportunity that puts you in contact with decision makers. Protective tip for the test month. In July, decline any help request that requires you to compromise your primary commitments. Emotional takeaway. Your quiet investment in others becomes an engine for your growth when you choose strategic support. Journaling prompts. Who in my network can advocate for me this year? What advisory role will I say yes to in May? Leo. Coronation and creative momentum. Leo, the language of 2026 for you is coronation, not in a throne and scepter way, but in the sense of public recognition for creative leadership. January and February bring clarity about what you truly want to be known for. March and April bring a vivid opportunity, a creative project or public role that highlights your strengths. Picture an invitation to contribute to a high visibility platform in April, one where your voice can finally meet a receptive audience. May and June accelerate this recognition into concrete benefits, contracts, sponsorships, or invitations to lead. The key here is to be bold but precise. Use your natural charisma to craft a compelling narrative about what you offer that others cannot. July may bring scrutiny. Critics or logistical issues could expose weaknesses in an otherwise shining plan. The test is constructive if you accept feedback and adjust. October and November offer consolidation, awards, formal titles, or consistent bookings that stabilize the momentum. December helps you see whether this recognition aligns with your long-term direction. Action to take. In April, propose a concise project that showcases your unique voice. Outline deliverables and timeline and ask for a trial run. Protective tip for the test month. In July, separate constructive critique from personal attack. Make one tactical adjustment and preserve creative control. Emotional takeaway. When you step fully into visibility at the right moments, applause can become lasting opportunity. Journaling prompts. What creative role will I propose in April? In July, what single change will I make to strengthen my work? Virgo. Precision, systems, and quiet leaps. Virgo, your luck in 2026 looks like systems that finally work for you. January and February are for audit and pruning. Get the books in order, tidy processes, and define one measurable goal. March is an action-preferring month. A clean proposal or a streamlined pitch will be unusually persuasive now. Think of March as the deadline month. If you present a well-constructed plan, it's likely to convert into resource allocation in April. April through June bring operational upgrades and possibly unexpected efficiency that opens capacity for growth. Imagine adopting a new tool in May that doubles your output, or delegating a non-essential task in June that frees you to take a strategic role. July will test those systems under pressure. Sudden demands or an influx of clients may push weak points to the surface. The guard for July is to resist ad hoc fixes. Instead, document the pressure points and schedule a proper correction rather than improvised patchwork. October and November are months of consolidation, when improved systems make results sustainable. Promises made earlier begin to pay out in measurable outcomes. December clarity will let you see which processes to scale and which to archive. Action to take. In March, submit one polished plan with measurable milestones and a clear budget. Protective tip for the test month. In July, avoid quick band-aids, log issues, and plan a robust fix. Emotional takeaway, your strength this year is turning small, precise moves into large, lasting change. Journaling prompts, what process will I improve in March? When July tests my systems, what's the one metric I'll monitor? Across these first 6 signs, a pattern is emerging. Winter and early spring, January-March, provide awakenings and pivot points. Spring into early summer, April-June, is when opportunities open and acceleration happens. July often reads as the stress test that asks for consolidation and emotional clarity. Autumn, October-November, tends to reward careful work with recognition and stabilization. December gives you the clarity to choose which seeds to carry forward. That arc, awaken, act, test, consolidate, will repeat through the second half of the zodiac, though the flavors and timings differ by sign. Watch how a single month can change everything for an individual sign. For some, March is the decisive month. For others, the defining moment lands in May or late autumn. Across the board, personal preparation amplifies timing. The luckiest signs in headline terms, Aries, Taurus, Leo, Gemini, Scorpio, and an honorable late mention to Pisces, have the kind of decisive windows where both internal shifts and external openings align. But remember, other signs will experience important opportunities too. 2026 is generous in its timing, and fortune tends to favor those who move with purpose. Before we move on to the rest of the zodiac, let's pause on practical ways to prepare for the windows we've named. Preparation isn't glamorous, but it is what turns a favorable month into something that changes your life. First, identify the months we've emphasized for your sign and mark them on a calendar. Second, create a short checklist for the preceding weeks. One concrete ask to make, one relationship to nurture, one small organizational step to clear space. Third, rehearse the one conversation you will have. Put your core points into a sentence or a bulleted 2-minute pitch. These steps make the difference between being surprised by opportunity and making opportunity work for you. For each of the signs we've covered, picture a micro-story. Aries making a bold pitch in March and getting the meeting that opens a ladder. Taurus closing a negotiation in May that secures steady cash flow. Gemini sending 3 precise messages in March that turn into a consulting contract. Cancer receiving a referral in March that makes a quiet role visible. Leo accepting a spotlight opportunity in April that becomes a defining portfolio piece. Virgo submitting a streamlined plan in March that wins resources. Each microstory shows how a specific behavior in a specific month can rewrite the arc of the year. Now, as we approach the second half of the zodiac, prepare to watch a different set of rhythms. Late-year accelerations, deep internal reckonings, and relationship turns that become career levers. The pattern remains the same, but the timing and methods change. If you're holding a sign I haven't covered yet, your most impactful months may be coming up. Keep your calendar open for spring shifts and build buffer into July for tests. Keep track of who's in your corner and be ready to ask for assistance when the right month arrives. Libra, the year of strategic harmonies. For Libra, 2026 is about turning diplomacy into momentum, making balance work as a force for forward motion rather than just pleasant maintenance. January and February invite you to reassess partnerships and clarify what you'll trade for mutual gain. In March, a conspicuous opening may come from someone who sees you as the connector you are. An invitation to co-lead a group, to mediate a collaboration, or to step into a partnership role that gives you a platform. That March connection can set the tone for April and May, when collaborative projects have the best chance of converting into measurable progress. April feels like a bridge month. A promising collaboration requires your tact and a clear delineation of responsibilities. May is a favored month for agreements that reward your diplomatic skills. Contracts, shared ventures, or a joint launch are more likely to land with solid terms. June can expand the scope. Recognition through association, introductions that scale your network, or a client referral that leads to steady income. July, however, will likely be a test of boundaries. The temptation is to say yes to too much in the name of harmony. The guard here is crucial. Protect your priorities by clarifying deliverables and timelines before taking on extra work. Let your inclination to keep peace not be the reason you stretch beyond capacity. October and November bring a season of consolidation where the cooperative threads you've woven create a visible tapestry. New roles, recurring commissions, or invitations to represent a broader group. December offers clarity about which alliances are sustainable and which were temporary bridges. Action to take. In March, draft a succinct collaboration brief, one page that states roles, outcomes, and timelines, and share it in an early conversation. Protective tip for the test month. In July, say no to undefined help requests. Ask for written expectations before committing. Emotional takeaway: your gift for balance becomes leverage when combined with clear terms and quiet assertiveness. Micro story. In March, imagine a community organizer inviting you to co-host a series. You accept, but send a one-page outline that defines your role. By May, the series attracts sponsors because your name brings trust. Journaling prompts. Who will I invite into a collaboration this March? What single boundary will I set in July to protect my focus? Scorpio. Season control, rewriting the narrative. Scorpio. 2026 hands you a rare combination: focused agency plus catalytic openings. January and February catalyze inward intensity, a clearing of what's not necessary and a sharpening of intent. March is likely to present a high-stakes doorway, an offer or a revelation that asks you to make a decisive move. If you accept, April and May can amplify your reach. Trust in your deeper strategy. This is not surface charm, but a structurally meaningful shift. May bring a direct opportunity to monetize expertise or to lead a confidential initiative that elevates standing. Think of May as the month that turns discretion into advantage. June can be about scaling influence, quiet recommendations, strategic introductions, or an offer to take on a role that consolidates authority. July will present pressure. Power dynamics or rivalrous energy may surface, and the test will be about emotional intelligence rather than control alone. The guard for July is to avoid reactive purity tests. Instead, choose responses that preserve relationships without sacrificing ethical standards. October and November are likely to feel like reclamation, a chance to reassert a long-term plan or to be acknowledged for strategic leadership. December brings clarity about legacy choices, which battles to keep and which to release. Action to take. In March, prepare a concise dossier of achievements and a private pitch that outlines your strategic vision. Share it with one person who can open doors. Protective tip for the test month. In July, refrain from zero-sum moves. Aim for solutions that protect your interests and sustain relationships. Emotional takeaway: your power this year is quiet, deliberate, and catalytic. Use it to change systems, not just outcomes. Micro story. A confidential meeting in March leads to a May appointment as a project lead. You've been advocated for because you prepared a clear plan ahead of time. Journaling prompts: what one dossier will I assemble in March? Which relationship will I repair before July to avoid unnecessary conflict? Sagittarius. Expansion with purpose. Sagittarius 2026 invites you to expand, but with a compass. January and February stir a desire for direction. Clarify which horizons truly excite you. March opens a promising route. Travel, study, or a new market may present itself. Early action in March could seed opportunities in April and June. April and May look like growth months, especially if you commit to a visible step, publishing, launching, or enrolling in a program that elevates your expertise. May can bring invitations that broaden your audience or access to new circles. June expands the playground. Partnerships across borders, a speaking opportunity, or a project that tests your capacity to scale. July will likely be a reality check. Loosened timelines, budget constraints, or logistical friction may force recalibration. The guard for July is to avoid overpromise. Favor pilots and trials rather than full-scale launches until you have confirmed resources. October and November favor strategic travel or long-term study. Recognition may come through broader influence, media, thought leadership, or an endorsement from an unexpected source. December clarifies which expansions are sustainable. Action to take. In March, commit to one outward-facing project, a talk, a small offering, or a market test, and set measurable metrics. Protective tip for the test month. In July, prefer pilots, scale only after validating the model. Emotional takeaway, expansion feels rewarding when it's guided by deliberate measures rather than impulse. Microstory. A March webinar attracts international interest. By June, a small partnership forms that tests a new market. Journaling prompts. What outward-facing project will I launch in March? Which metric will I measure in June to decide whether to scale? Capricorn. Long-term gains through tactical moves. Capricorn. 2026 rewards disciplined, well-timed investments. January and February are excellent for reviewing long-term plans and recalibrating the map. March is likely to offer a concrete lever, funding, a sponsorship, or a managerial responsibility that helps convert long-term strategy into short-term milestones. If you apply structure to that March opening, April and May produce steps toward a bigger goal, progress that compounds because you already prepared the architecture. June can be a month when delegation pays off, offloading operational tasks to focus on strategic leadership. July will present a stress test. Competing priorities, resource squeeze, or a personnel challenge could demand pragmatic decision-making. The guard here is to avoid perfectionism that stalls decisions. Choose the best available option and commit. October and November are consolidation months where institutional recognition, promotions, or contractual stability become plausible. December provides clarity for the next multi-year plan. Action to take. In March, formalize a proposal that ties short-term gains to your long-term plan. Include milestones and a budget. Protective tip for the test month. In July, delegate decisively and avoid falling into micromanagement. Emotional takeaway, steady strategy yields leverage when paired with timely tactical moves. Microstory. A March proposal to restructure a small team wins approval. By June, productivity increases because roles were clarified. Journaling prompts. What long-term milestone will I align with my March proposal? In July, which task will I delegate to free strategic time? Aquarius. Innovation meets social capital. Aquarius, the current year for you mixes inventive ideas with the power of collective action. January and February prime your imagination. Allow space for unconventional solutions. March is likely to be a moment when a prototype, pitch, or a community experiment attracts interest. If you present a clear value proposition then, April and May can convert curiosity into early adopters or social credibility. May feels especially friendly to inventive collaborations. Groups or platforms may invite you to contribute in ways that amplify your concepts. June can bring influential endorsements or technical partnerships that enable scale. July will likely be a test for coherence. A project may attract divergent opinions or technical obstacles. The guard here is to balance visionary leaps with practical iterations. Don't abandon structure for novelty. October and November can reward your role as an innovator who connects dots. Speaking invitations, collaborative grants, or product pilots gain traction. December clarifies which experiments are ready to move from beta to broader release. Action to take. In March, prototype a minimal viable version of one idea and share it with 3 trusted colleagues for feedback. Protective tip for the test month. In July, document decisions and avoid impulsive shifts based on unvetted advice. Emotional takeaway: your edge is original thinking combined with community. Anchor your novelty in reliable partnerships. Microstory: a March prototype gets rapid feedback and a May beta partnership with a small platform. By November, you're invited to speak about the project. Journaling prompts: which idea will I prototype in March? Who are the 3 people I'll ask for feedback? Pisces, late year ascendants and quiet turns. Pisces, your year builds toward a late but potent acceleration. The most decisive windows arrive in the latter months. January and February are more inward. Clarity comes from listening to intuition and small experiments. March may offer hints: a creative nudge, a subtle invitation, or an emotional recalibration that frames the rest of the year. April through June are generative but quieter. Soft openings, creative incubation, and small collaborations that set the stage. July will likely be a testing reef of emotional resilience and practical boundaries. Protect your time and avoid overcommitting to other people's dramas. The real momentum for Pisces tends to arrive in October and November. These months can produce a meaningful creative breakthrough, a partnership that amplifies your voice, or a late-year financial turn driven by a dormant project finally finding its audience. December brings clarity and the chance to formalize what blossomed in autumn. Action to take. In October, prepare a polished presentation of your creative work or a clear ask. Submit, pitch, or share with a potential partner who can scale it. Protective tip for the test month. In July, limit emotional labor that drains your capacity. Prioritize tasks that preserve creative energy. Emotional takeaway. Your greatest advancements may feel overdue, but they are durable because they are rooted in inner alignment. Microstory. A quiet project nurtured all spring is invited into a festival lineup in October. The visibility turns into steady commissions by December. Journaling prompts. What small creative practice will I protect in July? What will I present in October to invite a partner in? When pattern becomes practice, how to prepare before each key month. Across every sign, you've seen the same rhythm. Early year awakenings, spring openings, a July stress test, autumn consolidation, and December clarity. To translate these windows into real advantage, preparation must be specific and practical. Begin by mapping your highlighted months onto a simple calendar. For each flagged month, do these 4 things in the prior month. 1. One concrete ask. Decide on the single request you'll make in that month. A meeting, a pitch, a written proposal, a mentorship ask. Keep it precise and time-bound. I will request a 20-minute meeting in March to propose X. 2. One nurturing conversation. Identify the person who can advocate for you and plan one targeted outreach, an update, a question, or a gentle reminder of your availability. 3. One operational clear-out. Remove one friction point, belling, a backlog, or a scheduling bottleneck so you have the bandwidth to act. 4. One emotional anchor. Choose one self-care practice that preserves your resilience during the surge and the test. Short rituals that keep you steady. Clear inbox windows, a 10-minute reflection, a walking route to think through asks. These are not glamorous tasks, but they transform a favorable month into leverage. Preparation time is the difference between being surprised by opportunity and arranging for it to work for you. How to navigate the July tests without losing momentum. July repeats as a pressure month for many signs. The energy that brought acceleration in spring often demands something structural in summer. Tests in July can take multiple forms: scrutiny from peers, resource shortages, competing priorities, or emotional burnout. The strategy for this month is consolidation rather than expansion. Here's a short protocol to protect gains. Audit quickly. List your top 3 commitments and measure them against their expected return or strategic importance. Cut or defer what scores lowest. Communicate clearly. If timelines are slipping, tell stakeholders proactively and propose a reasonable corrective plan. Documentation matters. Emails, short summaries, or concise agreements help avoid misunderstandings. Protect liquidity. Avoid large discretionary spends in July unless they are essential to securing an opportunity. Prefer contingency planning over grand bets. Rehearse boundaries. Prepare a stock sentence to decline or delay non-essential asks. E.g., I can help with that in September. Right now, I need to focus on X to meet commitments. July is not a judgment on your worth. It is a refinement point. Those who treat it as a chance to shore up systems and relationships will tend to preserve and strengthen gains going into autumn. Relationship leverage: how networks turn opportunity into momentum. One recurring theme across signs is the accelerating power of relationships. Mentors who open a door, partners who amplify credibility, or networks that convert visibility into invitations. To harness relational leverage, think in 3 steps. Give first. Small, consistent acts of generativity create a reservoir of reciprocity. Offer introductions, share resources, or publicly acknowledge contributions. Be specific in asks. When you request help, make it easy to say yes. A short ask with a clear "what I need" and a defined timeline increases the likelihood of assistance. Protect reputation. Respond to endorsements graciously, deliver on small commitments promptly, and make sure your public presence reflects the work you want to attract. These relational moves help convert a favorable month from chance into durable advantage. Money movements. Prudence during acceleration. Financial themes appear for almost every sign this year: unexpected income, contract negotiations, or stabilization opportunities. The guidance is consistent. Celebrate gains, but allocate intentionally. When money comes in a favored month, set an allocation rule: a portion to tax/reserve, a portion to reinvest, and a portion to save. Even modest, consistent allocation prevents post-surge exhaustion. During July tests, favor liquidity and avoid speculative outlays. Use this month to build buffer rather than to buy status. If negotiating in April-June windows, enter talks with data, market comparisons, past results, or a one-page value memo. That clarity increases leverage. Remember, the forecast leans toward opportunity when preparation meets timing. Financial prudence is the bridge that keeps momentum from turning into volatility. Micro practices to build readiness. Short daily and weekly habits. To sustain readiness across multiple windows, adopt simple micro practices that compound. Weekly, a 30-minute planning block to review the coming month's asks, outreach, and logistics. Daily, a 10-minute morning prioritization. What one thing will move your key project forward today? Monthly, a one-page progress note. What worked, what didn't, who helped, and the next step to request. Relationship habit. Reach out once a week to someone in your network with either a useful resource or a short gratitude note. These practices don't require charisma. They require commitment. Consistency is how timing turns into advantage. Journaling prompts to keep you aligned, sign agnostic. To deepen inner readiness, try these prompts in the week before a key month. What is the single ask I need to make in the next 30 days? Who is the one person most likely to help me with that ask, and what will I say? If a test arrives, what boundary will I set to preserve my momentum? What small ritual will keep me grounded during surge and stress? Answering these in writing increases clarity and reduces reactive behavior when pressure arrives. A final look at the headline question: are you one of the luckiest zodiac signs in 2026? We opened by answering the title, yes, some signs appear especially favored in 2026. The signs that stand out most strongly for decisive breakthroughs are Aries, Taurus, Leo, Gemini, Scorpio, and a late-year surge for Pisces. Why these signs? Because the planetary rhythms and the narrative beats point to windows where inner readiness and external openings align in concentrated ways. March and May emerge repeatedly as launch months for these signs, with autumn offering consolidation and recognition. That said, luck in this forecast is not a metaphysical lottery. It's the visible intersection of timing plus action. A sign not named in the headline group still has meaningful windows. Sometimes the decisive moment for you is a quieter, later month shift that, when leveraged, proves just as life-changing. The measure of being among the luckiest is less about cosmic favoritism and more about whether you meet your moment ready, whether you take the measured risks available, and whether you protect and scale what follows. How to use this forecast practically: a 6-step prep checklist. 1. Mark your sign's key months on a calendar now. Put reminders 2 weeks before each window for prep work. 2. Identify the single ask for each key month and script it. One clear sentence that states outcome and time. 3. Choose one person per sign who can advocate for you. Plan a strategic touchpoint in the month before your window. 4. Create a July contingency plan: what you'll pause, what you'll protect, and who you'll tell if pressure mounts. 5. Set a financial allocation rule for any unexpected funds: reserve, reinvest, enjoy. Example: 40-40-20. 6. Commit to a weekly planning block to monitor progress, prepare documents, and rehearse pitches. Final encouragement and the emotional thread. Across the zodiac, the most compelling stories of luck in 2026 will be those where timing meets clarity and courage. Luck rarely arrives as an isolated miracle. It often looks like a quiet person prepared for a visible moment: a prepared dossier, a practiced ask, a clear boundary, and an activated advocate. The emotional shift required is simple but not easy. Move from hoping that something will happen to practicing the behaviors that make it happen. If you've been waiting for confirmation that change is possible, take this as both invitation and instruction. Mark the months, rehearse the asks, and steward your gains. Be generous with those who help you, precise with the people who matter, and protective of the work that sustains you. Closing. What to do next? If this forecast resonated, scroll down and share your sign in the comments. Tell us which month you're marking and the single ask you'll make. I'll read a few and highlight patterns in upcoming deep dive videos. If you found value here, like this video and check the playlist for your sign's full monthly guide, where we unpack each month in granular detail. If you're one of the signs named among the luckiest, prepare for decisive months, and remember, favor is a two-way street. Timing gives opportunity, but your readiness claims it. If your sign wasn't in the headline group, your window may be quieter or later, but still potent if treated with strategy. Either way, 2026 offers chances for real, lasting change if you meet those windows with clarity, measured risk, and steady protection. Go mark your calendar. Pick the single ask you'll make. Practice it until it feels clear. 2026 can be generous. Now, let's make sure you're ready when the door opens.